Hello, it's Davy Mooney coming to you from the University of North Texas, where I run the jazz guitar program. I'm a Benedetto artist, Sunnyside Records artist, got my Sunnyside discography up here that you may or may not be able to see with the glare, but we got Live at National Sawdust, the latest, Benign Strangers, Hope of Home, Perrier Street, improv book from Mel Bay called Personalizing Jazz Vocabulary, and getting the new book in shape, just going through it. It's so hard to miss or to not miss little tiny mistakes and things when you write a book. So many places to miss a fingering, etc., commas. But that's not what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the Thelonious Monk song Monk's Mood, which is really one of his deepest compositions. Deep, I guess that's in the eye of the beholder, but to me, just harmonically, rhythmically, melodically, and that other factor, I don't know, there's some kind of emotional thing. This song hits me in a particular place, and partially maybe because it goes back very far with me in my life as a musician. I remember there's a solo rendition of this tune on Steve Mazikowski's album Direct Access, which I believe is like 95 or so, 94, 95, something like that, on Blue Note Records, which is an amazing album. It's a little hard to find these days. I don't know that it's on that many of the streaming services, although a lot of the tracks are on YouTube. You can find them there. And he does a solo version of Monk's Mood, and that's actually the first time I learned how to do harp harmonics. Gotta hope I can do them right now. Steve starts off with this chord on the 7th string with a harp harmonic technique, Lenny Breau-esque. And I was like, wow. And I figured that out. And I figured out some of his chord melody on the tune. It's just a solo piece without knowing the song. But it always stuck with me as one of those early things that I actually transcribed and figured out as a young jazz musician. I was probably 15 at the time. And then just the title of it I thought was so cool. And I have a song I wrote back then, that same period when I was about 16, called Moon's Mood, that you can actually find on, I did an album of more singer-songwriter material where I sang and overdub harmonies and things like that. The album's called Ghosts of Music, Past, and the idea was, I played some tunes that I'd written in the 90s, some of them in 2000s, and just I needed to get the songs out, get them recorded so I could exorcise the demon. But anyway, so the actual tune, Thelonious Monk song, Monk's Mood, he recorded it on one of his really early recordings, on Blue Note Records. I think it was called the compilation or the album. I don't know that it was an LP. Maybe it was. It's like 1947, I believe, was the session. It's called Genius of Modern Music. And like I said, I don't know exactly how they packaged it together, but I love those recordings. When I first heard them and I first bought some, compilation, and probably in the 90s of Monk's music, it was hard for me because the sound quality it definitely has that old-time feel. The fidelity is not that great. And, it's 1947. It's different even than, say, his later recordings in the 50s on Riverside, where you can hear things a lot better with a lot more clarity. It's almost like, listening to the Charlie Parker sessions, like the Dial sessions and things like that, where the music is brilliant, but the sound quality leaves a lot to be desired. And, it's kind of, I don't like to, it's hard to not use the terms like quirky, even the term weird. But, to our ears now, I don't think it's actually very melodic and very interesting, but there's some aspects of the song that are maybe a little difficult. Maybe it's the juxtaposition of this kind of sing-songy melodic thing with some angularity and dissonance in the harmony. Anyway, you can read up on different descriptors people use for Thelonious Monk's music, but the actual song, basically, it starts off, you have a F minor, B flat 7, C, which I always learned that as a subdominant minor progression. And you hear that in Monk's music a lot, Monk's Dream kind of has that too. Like B flat 7 going back to C, and the melody you've got. And right off the bat, the thing that's kind of tricky is like the harmonic rhythm. He goes like 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. So that C major hits on beat 4 of the first measure. And it's really interesting on the original recording of the drums. There's not really anything in that space. You have this beat, you have this 3 beats, 2, 3, 4. And that was really hard for me for a long time to feel that and not, try to shave a beat off of the subsequent 4/4 bar, but let those 5 beats just kind of hang out there. And Monk does on this version anyway. He gives you a little rhythmic help with that. So he goes. But it's a little funny, right? And I think there are thirds. The horns are harmonized in thirds. Although I saw Peter Bernstein, I think, play it like that, where he had what are those, sixths or sevenths into thirds. So I kind of play it like that. So anyway, you have that, and then you have minor 2/5. So D minor 7 flat 5 to G 13, and you think, okay, well, it's going to go to C again, but then Monk goes, the chord is D flat major, but along with that there's this counter line where he goes down to a B flat 7. So that's kind of that's pretty angular, dissonant. So it's a D flat major 7, but you have the major 7 and the flat 7 going on at the same time for a second. And then this moving line that's mostly chromatic, although between G and F, it's a whole step. So, and then it's like a C major, just C in the major third, B in the major third, B flat. So that's a lot just in the first couple bars. Part we've got B flat 7, but right, it's so dissonant. You got a B flat 7 and then a sharp 9 to an A7 flat 13 with the melody to a E7 flat 9, but it's also got the major 7 to an E flat 7 sharp 9 that also has the natural 9. So yeah, I don't know. You can't really, if you try to take like a chord scale approach to that, I think you're gonna come up short, or it's not gonna be particularly useful. It's just some. I think again, this is why, for some strange reason, I liken Monk's music to Tom Jobim's music, not because they sound similar at all, but there's just like these counter lines and things that are going on that kind of defy representation in a lead sheet. Although there's a great lead sheet in the Monk fake book that Steve Cardenas and Don Sickler put together. But, there's like more going on, and you can't just chord scale it out like you could, say, I don't know, a modal tune, like a Joe Henderson tune or something like that. Although not that I'm belittling that type of music at all, but there's something else. Like I can't say, okay, it's B mixolydian, B flat mixolydian to A superlocrian. I guess I could, but. And I also love on that original version, 1947, the horn right there. Gosh, I forget who it is. Is it on alto? Is it somebody? I don't know. I'm not gonna guess and get it wrong. But they do this vibrato, this kind of old timey. That I kind of, when I first heard it, it's really strong and really pronounced vibrato, and I was like, what is going on here? I probably heard this when I was 16. Like, what's happening? But it links it back, to like Duke Ellington's music and maybe like this saxophone section sound of music from the swing era, if we want to put it into eras. And you can kind of hear that it's not really that. The tempo too of this tune, it's kind of like a dance tempo. It's not a super slow ballad like you would get later on in like the 50s and 60s and into today. But it's this kind of like. Sort of imagine people dancing to it. I can't really recreate guitar, But yeah, so you got that sequence of dominants too. B flat 7, A7, E7, E flat 7. So it's kind of the same progression twice if you think about tritone substitution. B flat 7, A7, E7 is the tritone sub of B flat, and vice versa, E flat 7. And then you have this interesting D7 sus to like an E sus, although I kind of feel like that's the same sound in some ways. I don't know. It almost looks forward to Dolphin Dance or something. But so you have the melody. So it's like, oh, here we go again. So a D7 sus to an E sus, E7 sus, or I don't know. If it has a G sharp in it, maybe it does. And then a D minor. And another one of those moving lines into a B flat 7. Flat 9, flat 5, which I remember Maskowski. I learned that chord. That's kind of a cool harmonics chord. Anyway, so yeah, and that takes you back to, that was the first A. And it repeats up until, the second ending. So we have our, let's see. Instead of going to the D7 sus, it goes, B flat 7, A7, E7, E flat 7, then like an A flat 7, 13, a flat 13, G7 to D flat major 7 sharp 11, and it reminds me a lot of Panonica. How you have that. Sorry. At the end of the A section in Panonica, where you have a 2/5 in. Sort of a 2/5 in D flat, but then they stick the G7 in there too, and then still go to D flat. There's a similar like A flat 7, G7, D flat. You have that same thing in Panonica. So, and sometimes he doesn't actually do that the first time, but that's another Monkism, having the major 7, D flat major 7, and then having a little line go from G to F. So then the bridge, a whole nother can of worms. We got a C sus, but really it's kind of like a B flat triad, then an A triad. So like a C7 sus or a C Mixolydian sound to a diminished, C half whole diminished, flat 9 13, A triad over C, A triad over C, and then an F sharp minor. So he's playing around with that like B flat triad, A triad, because an A triad with F sharp in the bass is a F sharp minor 7. So you got and again, harmonic rhythm wise, it's like C7, 3, 4, C7, F minor. It falls on beat 3 of the second measure, and then continues, and you have this. 5 to E in measures 3 and 4, and he does a little in that space where the E is just hanging in different versions. He does different kind of like little boogie woogie fills, another thing that in Monk's music. In the original one, he goes so. I don't know. It's just part of his world and his vocabulary that the dissonances are mixed in with these kind of cute sounding little things. And the next 4 bars of the bridge, so man, this tune is so packed, so full with information. You have this thing. So like A minor 7 flat 5, A flat 7, G7 sus, A flat diminished, A minor 7 flat 5, right in one measure. So you have these stretched out harmonic rhythms and chords coming in on unusual beats. And then here we got a very dense kind of 4 chords in one bar. And I sort of think of that whole thing as the sort of almost like C harmonic minor, all those chords together. It doesn't exactly capture the sound, but rather than treating them individually, I sort of like generalize a little bit into 7, which of course, you know, F7 from the third is A minor 7 flat 5, so it's kind of all in there. And that you could generalize, zoom out, and kind of group that harmony together to a certain extent. And then we have this. I love this part too. F minor to like an E flat minor with B flat in the bass, which is, you know, kind of a modern sound, I guess, if we want to use that term. 1947. What is modern music? But yeah, it's almost another way to think of that is like a like the 2 chords, like a Steely Dan chord. You know, I'm having a brain issue here, but you know, B flat minor 7 flat 6. Down to a D minor, that same ending of the first ending of the first A section. So you got that last part of the bridge, F minor, E flat minor over B flat. So not just F minor, E flat minor, D, but changing the bass motion to B flat 7 sharp 11. So gosh, a lot of information there, y'all. And you'll hear me. I'm going to play the whole tune with the melody in a little bit. But so then the last day, you know. Almost the same as the second ending, but there's the rhythm is a little different. So instead of the first end, you have anticipation and a 4 of the C, and then this last part you have the C hits on beat 1, and you have this little counter line, and that's the song. Some other things, I mean, I could spend way more time than I am here talking about this tune, but a thing that Peter Bernstein pointed out to me, shout out to Peter Bernstein, one of the great interpreters of Monk's music and jazz music in general. But I remember him pointing out when we were looking at some Monk tunes how it's interesting how certain things are very swung rhythmically, and then other things are totally straight. Like for instance, the counter lines where he goes, when he plays them, they're like 100% straight, like a march. Da, 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 da. Then other things like on the bridge where you have this part right here, he goes. It's very like dun, 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 triplet subdivision, or even like a dotted rhythm, like very bouncy, very swung. And there's also stuff that's kind of in between. And it just seems very specific because it's very tight on the recording. Then again, you can listen to other recordings and sometimes it changes. But that's another aspect of his music, that certain things are straight and certain things are swung, even in a, you know, I guess overall swing context. And you know, when I play on the tune, I guess you'll hear me play on it in a second, I tend to, if a chord, like I was pointing out those dominant chords and all the crazy alterations they have, sometimes when those dominant cycles, I try to just be kind of simplify a little bit what I'm going to play. Even just play the arpeggio, the dominant 7 arpeggio if it's B flat 7. Other times I'll try to refer to the melody, but I don't get caught up on, you know, trying to think of what is the chord scale for this dominant with these particular alterations when I'm soloing. And otherwise, you know, I just try to hang. I generalize that one part on the bridge where you have all those chords. Kind of think of it as just a C harmonic minor, G7 kind of thing. And yeah, I just try to stick with the tune and generalize where I need to generalize, be specific where I need to be specific, and you just got to play it a million times and, you know, analyze what sounds right and what doesn't, you know, within your knowledge of the style of playing ballads, Monk's music, chord scales, what have you, arpeggios. Hey y'all, surprise, quick edit. So I had a full version of this tune with the melody, the head in, and part of the head out, and it was just way too long. So I decided to edit out the melody and just improvise on the harmony. So you get a full chorus of me playing on it, and then another half chorus, and it's going to end right at the bridge when the bridge goes out. So I hope you enjoy this improvisation on the harmony of Monk's Mood. Thanks.